Grand Seiko. Grand Seiko is truly one of my favorite watch brands. It has been for almost as long as I've been collecting watches. The designs are mostly why. There's also some interesting history and a lot of pretty neat watchmaking technology. Mechanical and quartz, and actually a combination of both. And it's because I like Grand Seiko so much that I'm often critical of the brand and its watches. It's called tough love, and while I can't really take tough love gracefully, I'm very happy to dish it out. This is the SLGH017, the Night Birch. Scary. This watch is on loan from Ruben Nielsen. Ruben is the frontman for a band called Unknown Mortal Orchestra. This is Ruben with his wild 6-string guitar, and he's wearing his beloved Panerai PAM 112 like he does on stage at many concerts. The man has taste. I mean, he watches this channel, so of course. Unknown Mortal Orchestra is really good for me. I'm actually a big fan. The bass player in the band, Jake, he wears a vintage Cartier Santos on stage. The watches aren't why I'm a fan of the band, but it does not hurt. Ruben bought this watch a few months ago from a Grand Seiko boutique, and maybe just in time, because in February, this watch, the Night Birch, was discontinued. Why was it discontinued? Got me. Nobody knows how large watch brands make decisions, but the work is mysterious and important. This SLGH017 is part of the Grand Seiko Evolution 9 collection. It's a line of watches that Grand Seiko introduced a few years ago, and Grand Seiko has this to say about the Evolution 9 collection. The most meaningful evolution begins inside. For Grand Seiko, Evolution 9 epitomizes the inner evolutionary... this is gross. Watch marketing like this makes me feel like I need to exfoliate a layer of my brain. But the watch collection itself is pretty good, which is why I've made videos about several Evolution 9 Grand Seiko watches. The SLGA021 Lake Suwa, the SBGE285 Mist Flake, the SLGH005 White Birch, and now the SLGH017 Night Birch. There's a design consistency in the Evolution 9 collection that I really like. Similar case design, similar water resistance, hands, markers, and they all have excellent movements. Not that Grand Seiko has any bad movements, but the ones in these watches are quite nice, even by Grand Seiko standards. Mechanical, and whatever spring drive is, so mechanical and mostly mechanical. This Night Birch is fully mechanical with gears and oils and pinions and flanged ring anchor cams. Actually, this movement does have a couple interesting things about it that I'm going to get into. The case and bracelet of this watch are made of what Grand Seiko calls its high-intensity titanium. It's a proprietary titanium alloy that Grand Seiko claims is a little more scratch-resistant than other titaniums, but more importantly, it can be finished better than most other titaniums. The case is 40mm across, 11.7mm thick, and 47mm long. It has 22mm lugs, and the bracelet tapers down to 20mm at the clasp. The Night Birch has a screw-down crown and 100 meters of water resistance, and it weighs only about 110 grams on the bracelet. And the movement inside is the caliber 9SA5. More on that in a couple minutes. $10,500 is or was the list price for this watch. That puts it at about $1,000 above similar steel watches. I assume titanium is the reason for the price difference. On my high-intensity 7-inch wrist, the size and fit is perfect. A lot has to do with the relative lightness of the titanium. 110 grams on a bracelet is excellent, especially considering how much bracelet there is, and this is one of my complaints about the Evolution 9 collection. The bracelet barely tapers from 22mm to 20mm. That ain't much of a taper at all, and it gives the watch a beefier look and feel. And I know that's the whole point of this. Grand Seiko says that the Evolution 9 watches are supposed to be sportier, quote, adapting to today's more active lifestyle. But Grand Seiko, I promise you that a bracelet that tapers down to 18mm would not hinder my most active lifestyle of sitting at my desk and arguing about jewelry. And I would prefer the more elegant look. But overall, this thing, it wears great, almost great enough to not need an adjustment system in the clasp. Almost not. We still want the better bracelet adjustment options on watches like this, Grand Seiko. I know you know this. As for the high-intensity titanium, it is most certainly not scratch resistant. Ruben has done an awesome job putting nicks on this watch. I'm being totally honest when I say that I admire someone who can wear a $10,000 watch like a healthy person and not like someone who will literally lose sleep thinking about micro abrasions on their luxury goods. But the titanium does take a polish well. The chamfers along the case sides are the best example of Grand Seiko's Zaratsu polishing on this watch. Very pretty stuff, and there's almost no polished surfaces on the bracelet, which is a change from watches like the Snowflake, which has polished links on the bracelet. I also assume this change is for my active lifestyle. Now the dial. So this is the reason this thing is called the Night Birch. But let me back up a little bit. First, there was the Grand Seiko White Birch, not the Day Birch, the White Birch. I still don't know if the birch title is supposed to be referencing the bark of a single birch tree or a forest of birch trees, and the important thing to remember is it doesn't matter. The Night Birch has the same rough vertical texture dial, and it's fun and kind of refreshing to see natural looking textures in watchmaking. There are a lot of amazing dials from Grand Seiko and other brands that have beautiful geometric patterns, crisp angles, all very clearly precise and manufactured, but a dial that looks like it fell off of a tree, that's kind of a nice change. And on the dial are some of Grand Seiko's signature faceted markers. These things are pretty interesting. Ruben brought this watch to a watch meetup a few weeks ago, and our gracious host Paul set up a digital microscope. I put the watch under the lens and we could all see what is actually impossible to see with the naked eye. These markers have these impossibly small ridges, and a few people asked me if these are made by hand, and my strong assumption is absolutely not. These have to be machine made, right? I'd love to be wrong about this. Someone let me know and provide evidence this time. And I heard it on YouTube is definitely not valid evidence. You can't trust those guys. The 9SA5 movement is a high beat movement. It runs at 5 Hz. That means it ticks 10 times per second. That makes the second hand run smoother than on something like a Rolex, and the high beat rate helps with accuracy. This is rated to -3 to +5 seconds per day, so better than Swiss chronometer certification standards. The balance wheel is free sprung. That means that timing is regulated with little weights in the form of screws on the balance wheel. All the coolest kids use free sprung balances. Free sprung balances, so hot right now, and by now I mean for the last 200 years. But the real innovation in this movement is that it has something called a dual impulse escapement. I'll put it simply because that's really all I'm capable of doing. Each time the escape wheel moves, it transfers power to the balance twice, once each time it swings around. This means that the movement can run at 5 Hz and still be very energy efficient. So energy efficient that even at 10 beats per second, this watch has 80 hours of power reserve, which is a lot. The dual impulse escapement was first used by Grand Seiko in 2020, so it's relatively new, and it's great to see these movements showing up in a lot of the Evolution 9 watches. So this watch has good accuracy and a long power reserve, two things that I do not have. Now going back to that price, $10,500, that's when this was officially for sale. It's been tough as a Grand Seiko fan to watch Grand Seiko move up market with its newer watches. Back in my day, you could get a Grand Seiko for $4,000 and its bracelets tapered, and the only tick-tock we knew about was the sound coming from our fancy boy watches. And I wish this watch was half the price, of course I do. But, and here's something maybe I shouldn't say, I kinda think that if there was one brand that could make more expensive watches and increase its prices on existing watches, I kinda think Grand Seiko is the one I'd be most okay with that happening with. You can criticize me for saying that, and even if you don't, I probably will, but I do think Grand Seiko makes some amazing watches, visually and technologically, and now they have 6-year warranties. I probably should have mentioned that earlier. So we're right to complain about the bracelets and the price and whatever else. But when Ruben told me that he bought this watch, my reaction, like with most Grand Seiko purchases, my reaction was, yeah, nicely done.